Get your free copy of the complete tutorial at www.teachucomp.com/free.
You can manipulate a pivot table or pivot chart to change the data it displays and calculates. The tables and fields available to the selected pivot table or pivot chart appear in the Choose Fields to Add to Report list within the Pivot Table Fields or Pivot Chart Fields task panes. The tables show table icons to the left of their names. The fields within a table appear with checkboxes to the left of their names. You can expand and collapse the list of fields within a table by clicking the arrow to the left of the table icon in this pane. To add fields to or remove fields from the quadrants below, check or uncheck the checkboxes next to the field names in the Choose Fields to Add to Report list within the Pivot Table Fields or Pivot Chart Fields task panes. After adding fields to any of the 4 quadrants at the bottom of the task panes, you can click and drag the fields from one quadrant to another to rearrange the display of the data if needed. When working with the fields in a pivot table or pivot chart, if you click into a worksheet cell outside of the pivot table or pivot chart area, it deselects it and also hides its task pane. You can click back into a cell in the pivot table or click the pivot chart to reactivate either one and show its task pane again. You can also use the buttons within the Active Field button group on the Analyze tab of the Pivot Table Tools or Pivot Chart Tools contextual tabs in the ribbon to change the appearance of your pivot table and pivot chart data. When you click into a field in a pivot table, or click to select a plotted data series field in a pivot chart, the name of the active field appears within the Active Field text box in this button group. To collapse and expand the detailed data for any actively selected field in an outlined group within a pivot table or pivot chart, click the Expand Field and Collapse Field buttons in the Active Field button group on the Analyze tab. To open a dialog box that lets you change the active field's settings within either a pivot table or pivot chart, simply click the Field Settings button in the same Active Field button group on the Analyze tab. To both hide and show the Pivot Table Fields task pane, click the Field List button in the Show button group on the Analyze tab of the Pivot Table Tools contextual tab in the ribbon. To both show and hide the Pivot Chart Fields task pane, click the Field List button in the Show Hide button group on the Analyze tab of the Pivot Chart Tools contextual tab within the ribbon instead.
Like what you see? Pick up your free copy of the complete tutorial at www.teachucomp.com/free.